The village of Oluwada stood frozen under the cold harmattan night. A strange silence covered the land, the kind of silence that comes before something terrible happens. Lanterns flickered in trembling hands, their weak light dancing on frightened faces. Men, women, and even small children crowded the village square. No one laughed. No one spoke loudly. Fear sat heavily on every heart. Some mothers held their children tightly, whispering prayers under their breath. Old men leaned on their walking sticks, their eyes wide with worry. Even the brave hunters stood quietly, gripping their charms and cutlasses. In the center of it all stood Grandma Morayo. Her staff was planted firmly on the ground, as if it was holding the village together. Her white hair glowed under the moonlight, moving slightly with the cold wind. Her eyes were deep and tired, like someone who had seen too many secrets and too much pain. Slowly she turned and faced Abeni. Every eye followed her movement. The murmuring in the crowd stopped. When Grandma Morayo spoke, her voice was low, but it carried power, ancient power that made the air feel heavy. "Abeni," she called. Abeni raised her head, her hands shaking. "The hour has come." A soft gasp ran through the crowd. Some people shook their heads in fear. Others looked away as if they already knew what was coming. "You must redeem your father from this Christmas curse," Grandma Morayo continued. Abeni swallowed hard. Her throat felt dry. Her heart beat loudly in her chest as if it wanted to break free. Memories rushed into her mind. Her father's laughter before the curse, his pain after it, the shame, the whispers, the long nights of suffering. She wanted to speak, but no sound came out. Grandma Morayo stepped closer and held Abeni's shoulders gently. Her touch was warm, comforting, yet heavy with responsibility. She said softly, "Go to him with an open heart. No fear, no hatred, only truth and love." Abeni's eyes filled with tears. She nodded slowly, even though her legs felt weak. Around them, the wind blew softly through the trees, brushing against the lantern flames, making them shake. It was as if the night itself was listening. Somewhere far away, a dog howled. The moon hid behind thin clouds, and the village of Oluwada waited, holding its breath.
The villagers gasped loudly. Fear moved through the crowd like fire in dry grass. One man stepped forward, shaking his head violently, his eyes filled with terror. "Abeni, this is a journey of no return," he shouted. "People who go there never come back the same." Another woman cried out, her voice breaking with fear. "That monster will kill you all. It is not human again. What came out of your father is no longer a man." Her words sent cold fear into the crowd. Some women rushed toward Abeni and held her wrapper tightly, pulling at her clothes, tears running down their faces. "Please, my daughter, don't go," one of them begged. "You are still young. We cannot lose you too." Children began to cry. Some hid their faces in their mothers' backs. Others clung tightly to their mothers' wrappers, shaking. Even the lantern flames seemed afraid. They danced wildly in the wind, throwing long shadows on the ground, making the night look alive. Whispers filled the air. Death, blood. Christmas will be ruined. But in the middle of all the chaos, Abeni did not step back. Her feet remained firm on the ground. Her hands stopped shaking. Slowly, she lifted her head. Her eyes were steady, filled with pain, but also courage. When she spoke, her voice was calm, clear, and strong. "If I don't go," she said softly, "my father will die as a curse." The words fell heavily on the ground. Some people covered their mouths, others looked away in shame. Abeni gently removed the hands holding her wrapper one by one. She did not push anyone. She did not shout. She only nodded respectfully. Then she took a deep breath and stepped forward. The dusty village road felt cold and rough under Abeni's bare feet.
Every step she took sent fear through her body. Her legs trembled badly, like they could fail her at any moment, but she kept walking. The night was quiet, too quiet. Her breath sounded loud in her ears. Her heart beat fast, almost painfully. Then, the giant chicken moved. Slowly, it turned its huge body. The ground shook lightly as it moved. Its glowing eyes locked onto Abeni, shining bright like burning coals in the dark. A cold fear ran through her spine. It was massive, far taller than any man in Oluwada, taller than the tallest palm tree close to the road. Its white and red feathers shone under the moonlight, looking like fire and snow mixed together. Some feathers were stained, others looked sharp like knives. Its claws dug deep into the earth, breaking the hard ground as if it was soft sand. The sound alone made people shiver. The giant creature spread its wings. They stretched wide, blocking the moonlight, like a storm ready to destroy everything in its path. The wind from its wings blew dust into the air. From the village, people screamed softly in fear. Some ran and hid behind trees. Others crouched behind huts and walls, shaking and praying. No one dared to move closer. But Abeni stood still. She felt fear, yes, but she did not run. Slowly, she lifted her head and looked straight into the creature's glowing eyes. Her voice shook at first, then became steady. She whispered, barely louder than the wind, "Papa, it is me." Her throat tightened. "Abeni." She took a step closer, her heart breaking. "Your daughter." The giant chicken froze. Its terrible roar died in its throat, like a fire that suddenly lost air. The wind around them slowed. Even the night seemed to hold its breath. Its eyes, human eyes trapped inside a monster, stared at Abeni. They burned, not with anger, but with deep sorrow and shame. Tears formed in those eyes. Slowly, very slowly, the creature tilted its huge head to the side, as if trying to remember something long forgotten. A low sound came from its chest. Not a roar, not a scream. It sounded almost like a sigh. Its heavy breathing softened. The claws that were digging into the ground relaxed a little. The wings that were raised in anger lowered slowly. Abeni swallowed hard. Her legs felt weak, but she forced herself to move. She stepped closer. Each step felt like a lifetime. Her heart pounded so loudly she was sure everyone could hear it. Still, she did not stop. When she was close enough, she raised her small shaking hand and touched its wing. The feathers were warm. Not cold, not dead. They were alive. Abeni's eyes filled with tears. "Forgive yourself, Papa," she whispered, her voice breaking. "You did nothing wrong." Her words floated in the air like a prayer. The giant chicken trembled. Its whole body shook from its claws to the tips of its wings. A deep pain passed through its face. Slowly, its eyes closed. For the first time since the curse began, fear gave way to love, and something unseen began to change in the darkness. Abeni's hand hovered over a single large white feather. It was different from the others, brighter, cleaner, almost glowing under the moonlight. Her heart raced wildly inside her chest. She could feel it beating in her ears. Her fingers shook so much she had to close her eyes for a second. Behind her, the whole village held its breath. No one spoke. No one moved. Even the wind stopped blowing. Sweat rolled down Abeni's forehead despite the cold night. Then, with one swift movement, she plucked the feather. The moment it left the wing, the world exploded with sound. The giant chicken screamed, not like an animal, not like a bird. It was a sound of deep pain, heavy sorrow and burning anger all mixed together. The scream cut through the night like a sharp knife. Some villagers covered their ears and cried out. Some fell to the ground in fear. Others dropped their lanterns, and the lights went out one by one. Dust rose violently into the air, swelling like a small storm. The ground shook under their feet. Abeni stumbled back quickly, her heart pounding, clutching the feather tightly in her hand. The feather felt hot, and the darkness around her began to move. Grandma Morayo rushed forward, her old body suddenly moving with strange strength. She snatched the feather from Abeni's trembling hand before anyone could speak. Without wasting time, she dropped it straight into her ritual pot. The pot began to shake. The air around it grew hot. Grandma Morayo quickly added dry herbs, crushing them between her palms. She poured in thick red palm oil, letting it drip slowly. Then she sprinkled sacred sand, collected from places no one dared to visit. Her lips moved rapidly as she began to chant. The words were ancient, older than the village itself. No one understood them, but everyone felt their power. The ground beneath her feet vibrated softly. Suddenly, Grandma Morayo lifted her staff and struck it against a stone. A spark flashed. Then, a blue fire erupted from the pot. It was bright, fierce, alive. The fire did not burn like normal fire. It twisted and danced, reaching toward the sky. The wind began to howl loudly, rushing through the trees and huts. Thunder rolled across the sky, shaking the heavens. Grandma Morayo raised her voice and shouted with authority, "Curse of Christmas, be broken! Let truth breathe again!" At once, lightning tore through the sky, bright enough to turn night into day. The earth shook violently, huts rattled, lanterns fell and shattered. The giant chicken staggered, flapping its huge wings wildly, crying out in confusion and pain. Its legs gave way. Then, crash! It fell heavily to the ground. Dust exploded into the air, and the blue fire burned even brighter. The villagers gasped loudly. No one spoke. No one moved. They watched with wide eyes as feathers scattered into the air, floating like snow mixed with smoke. As they touched the ground, they burned softly and vanished, leaving nothing behind. The giant wings shriveled and folded in on themselves. The sharp beak cracked slowly, breaking into pieces. The huge body melted, twisted, and shrank like a nightmare fading at sunrise. Then, there on the dusty ground, lying weak, broken, and trembling, was Adigun, a man again, a human being. His body shook from cold and pain. Tears rolled freely down his cheeks, soaking the dust beneath him. The curse was gone. Without thinking, Abeni ran to him and fell to her knees. She wrapped her arms tightly around her father. "Papa, you're safe," she cried. Adigun held her like someone who had just returned from death. His shoulders shook as he cried like a small child. "I am free," he sobbed. "Free at last." The villagers slowly stepped out from behind trees and huts. Some fell on their knees to pray. Some cried openly. Some hugged one another in silence. Fear had left the village. From somewhere in the darkness, a drum sounded. Soft, slow, careful. Another drum joined it. Then another. Gentle Christmas drums beating with relief and joy. Peace returned to Oluwada. Grandma Morayo watched quietly, her staff resting beside her. A small smile touched her tired face. "The oracle has mercy tonight," she whispered. "But never forget, love is stronger than any curse." Above them, the moon shone clearly again, the wind became calm, and the long night of fear ended.